Hi, I'm Charlotte with Freezer Meals 101. Today I'm going to be sharing with you something that will save you money and time. This is a trick that I actually learned from a friend of mine who's a mom of 10. And you know that if there's anyone that knows how to save money on groceries, it's a mom of 10. So even though we have a slightly smaller family with 7 children, this has been a tip that I've been able to use. And whether you have 2 kids, no kids, your kids are grown, 10 kids, whatever, you can use this tip and it will truly save you a lot of money and help you stretch those grocery dollars a lot further. So what she taught me is to take my leftovers and make them into soup. But not like your usual, just take, your leftover protein and turn that into soup, but like take all of your leftovers and turn them into a soup. Take the sauce, use absolutely everything. Use the seasonings that were in there, all of the things, and use it to your advantage when you're creating your soup flavors. So today I'm going to be showing you 3 actual recipes where I've taken one of our freezer meals and transformed it into a leftover soup, or a soup using the leftovers. And hopefully that will help give you some ideas, but I'm also going to share with you some flavor combinations of that I use depending on what the dinner was and how I use that to transform it into specific soups. So hopefully that information will help take this a little bit further for you and show you how you'd be able to transform your own leftovers into soups. And the best part of this is that you're actually able, if you choose, to take these soups and freeze them, because it's taking your raw ingredients that were like in the freezer frozen raw, and then now you've cooked them. So now that you're taking the cooked ingredients and using them into a soup, it's safe to refreeze them because they've had that change. It's not safe to take out like raw ingredients, thaw them, and refreeze them. But it is safe to take out those raw ingredients, cook them, repurpose them, and then refreeze them. So if your family doesn't feel like eating like a soup using kind of similar flavors to what you had the day before or the night before, it's really easy to still use this soup because you can freeze it. You can freeze it in freezer bags, or you can freeze it in mason jars or in containers, or even in the smaller medium-sized freezer bags, so that you can just have like individual portions for lunches and that kind of thing. So this will help you stretch those grocery dollars so much further. Okay, let's get started with our first recipe, and after that I'm gonna be back to share some tips of different flavor combinations and how you can use your leftovers and turn them into soup. For the first of the soups with leftovers that I want to show you, it is this pesto chicken and vegetables. And I will just show you what we had left over. So that was the original freezer bag. This is what there is left after my family devoured it. I picked off the corn because I don't want the corn in the soup. The Brussels sprouts, I didn't want in the soup either, but I didn't have to pick them off because my family had eaten them all. So now in this pot, I am going to cook. I'm just going to put some olive oil, and I'm going to saute an onion, half an onion actually. Half an onion because it is a giant onion, so it's like the equivalent of one whole, like smaller onion. While I saute that, I'm going to cut up this leftover chicken. So what we've got left are 3 chicken thighs, and my idea for this soup is actually, I was inspired by a recipe that I have for a freezer meal soup. It's a pesto minestrone. Seriously delicious. We make it at least once a year when we do our freezer meal rounds, and then we, make 4 of them. that kind of sparked this idea, like, because this has the pesto and it has the carrots and it has the zucchini, I was like, oh, I can kind of make like a minestrone inspired soup. So I'm going to add some white wine because that recipe does call for white wine. I am going to maybe add a bit more pesto. I'm not sure. It depends on like how it tastes and how it looks. I'm gonna add some kidney beans, some Italian seasoning, and a can of diced tomatoes. I will, I guess, add some chicken broth as well to make it into a soup. And the important thing is that I am going to be using all of that sauce. So I'm going to be scraping all the sauce off the pan, be adding that into the soup so that we get all that deliciousness from all of the vegetables and the chicken and, you know, everything that cooked on that pan. We want that all in the soup. If I add too much chicken broth, then I might be inclined to throw in some pasta, like a really small pasta, because minestrones can have pasta. And this is obviously not a completely traditional minestrone because you got the chicken in there, but it's gonna have those same kind of flavors. And I'm gonna be able to stretch these 3 chicken thighs into a huge soup. Now, green beans also go really nicely in a minestrone, so that is something else that you could consider adding. And of course, you could add more zucchini or more carrots if you had them on hand. Okay, I'm gonna like bring it to a simmer, and towards the end of cooking, I'm going to add some spinach. And that's gonna be it. So it's loaded with vegetables, you've still got your protein in there, and I've managed to stretch out those 3 chicken thighs into an entirely new meal. Just going to let this spinach wilt a tiny bit more, and this will be ready for tomorrow's lunch. I like to make the leftover soups that night as I'm like doing dishes and cleaning up the kitchen anyway, and I'm in the kitchen anyway, and that way I know that it's done. I don't have to worry about putting the leftovers from dinner away because I've made them into a soup. So it's not a whole lot longer than it would have taken me to just be in the kitchen cleaning up anyway. So there you have it, our first soup of the week made with the leftovers from our freezer meal. Okay, so you guys saw how I transformed that pesto chicken and vegetables into kind of a minestrone inspired soup. But now I'm going to be sharing with you some combinations of other leftovers and what I would do in that case to turn them into soup. So let's say you had taco meat leftover, or a Southwest type chicken, or a taco chicken. Like I know one of the freezer meals we do is a salsa verde chicken. We use that in tacos. So anything that you have that's kind of taco inspired, whether it's like a ground beef taco meat, or even like a sausage dish that is taco-esque, and then your chicken dishes that again have that Southwest flavor or that taco flavoring. So what you're gonna do with that is you're gonna take whatever chicken you have left over. Now I'm talking about like half a chicken breast here. Like it does not have to be a lot. You're gonna take whatever that is, and then whatever sauce is left over with that. So you're gonna take all of that and you're gonna put that in your soup pot. You can add cans of black beans, corn, you can add some onion and garlic, taco seasoning, and then water and salsa. So in that one, you're not gonna use broth, you're gonna use salsa and water as kind of the soup base. So that's a way to create like this tortilla soup, super easy, and again, you're just using your leftover protein, so it's economical. The next one is if you have a really like thick sauce on a chicken. So one of the ones that we make often is called chicken hurry. It's like a recipe from my childhood. It's really not that healthy. It's like ketchup and brown sugar and water and dry onion soup mix. So it's, again, like not the healthiest in the world, but super kid friendly. It's a favorite. And when we have leftovers of something like chicken curry or teriyaki chicken or like some kind of like thicker chicken sauce, what you're gonna do for that is you can add a can of tomato soup. So like condensed tomato soup. You can add a can of tomato soup, some carrots, some onions. You can add some more chicken broth if you want, or you can just like add some water because you've got that the tomato soup in there. So you're just kind of gonna create like this hearty comfort food soup with that leftover chicken, and make sure that you add every remnant of the sauce, because the sauce is really what's gonna change that up, make different flavors. I also add peas into that one most of the time, like some frozen peas, or of course, the night that we have something like chicken curry, I will purposely serve peas as a side dish so that I can use the leftover peas in the soup, because I know it tastes really good in that soup. If you have a plain chicken, so if you're just like, let's say you grilled some chicken with just some salt and pepper or some garlic and basil, or just a very simple chicken, then you're gonna transform that into chicken noodle soup. So you're gonna have some celery, onions, carrots, and chicken broth, and then at the end of the, like on the day you cook it or whatever, you just add noodles at the end of your cooking time. So I like egg noodles, but you can use whatever kind of noodles that you like in your chicken noodle soup. Some people would like the really long ones, or you can buy like the specific chicken, you know, at the bulk store, you can buy the chicken noodles. So that's your chicken noodle soup, just from a really plain chicken. And again, you're stretching out like one chicken breast or two chicken thighs, or like half a chicken breast, or whatever it is that you have left over, and you're just stretching it out for that whole entire soup. So if you have like a curried chicken, then again, you're going to be working with those flavors that you already have. So let's say you served like a basmati rice or a jasmine rice as a side for that. You're gonna scoop in the leftover rice, you're gonna scoop in the chicken, just cube it up or shred it, add that, and then the sauce. And then you wanna add some more of that curry flavor. So maybe a little bit of honey, and then some curry paste or curry powder, or any kind of curried seasoning. You can make your own, which obviously is gonna taste better. And then in that, if you want, you can add some coconut milk, or you can keep it kind of just cream based, add some whipping cream, that kind of thing. So that's just gonna be like those curry flavors. So you can add some peas to that. That's really nice with curry. Some carrots if you want. So you can also do potato in like a curry based soup. You're not gonna have potatoes with your freezer meal because raw potatoes do not freeze well. But on the day of cooking, maybe you've made potatoes instead of rice, you can just go ahead and add the leftover ones right into that soup, and then it's gonna make it heartier. For like a chicken that has a creamy sauce, so this last round when Christy and I made our 150 freezer meals last weekend, we had a jalapeno popper chicken in there. So I haven't eaten it yet, but it's in my freezer, so when I make that, it's got the cream cheese and the bacon and the jalapenos and the cheddar cheese. So that's gonna be like a really creamy sauce once that's cooked. So you would scrape that sauce into your pot, and then you might make like a roux in another pot and put it in there, and kind of continue onto like that cream soup idea, because you've just got like a little bit of chicken to stretch out, but you can make it into this really nice like creamy broth, maybe add some more cheese. And yeah, so those are my ideas as far as the flavor combinations and what works well. I'm going to show you a beef curry soup that I made from our leftover beef curry. And in that one, we've got the coconut milk and like more of that creamy idea. Not quite as creamy as those creamy soups I was just talking about, but like this, we have like a Thai curry soup, beef soup thing happening. So I'm gonna show you that, and then I will be back to tell you some of the things you will want to have in your freezer and pantry in order for you to be able to easily whip up these soups with whatever your leftovers are. So the soup from the beef curry leftovers, I'm just going to make directly into the bag. I'm going to scoop the leftovers from the meal into the freezer bag, and then I'm going to add the other ingredients. I'm going to get that sealed, of course taking out the air so we don't get freezer burn, and I'm going to put it right into the freezer. And then we will have a Thai beef curry soup in the freezer ready to go. So in the actual beef curry, there was beef strips and sliced red and yellow peppers, tomatoes, and of course some yummy curry paste and all of those good things. So I'm just adding what we had left over after dinner last night into the bag, making a bit of a mess with this. And it probably would have been easier to add it last night. And then I'm just going to add as much of the sauce as I have, because we don't want any of this goodness with the onions and all the seasonings to go to waste. Now into here, I'm going to add some ginger, garlic, more curry paste, fish sauce, and some coconut milk. I think I'll do 2 cans of coconut milk, and I think that's gonna make a really flavorful Thai-inspired soup. Ooh, I think I'll add some rice vinegar too. Now, this is one recipe that I could not share with Christy because she is not picky at all, but she did not like coconut milk. So this would be one that she is not a fan of. I am making a giant mess. Nothing that can't be cleaned. Yes, that really did happen. I saw that I had made a little tiny mess, went to grab some cloth to clean it up, and I know better than that because I know that especially with a bag with liquid, you can't leave it unattended. And I should have sealed it before I turned around. But anyway, I turned around, the bag, as you saw, leaked all over the island, and I lost some of my soup. But I didn't lose that much, and it was messy, and it was something to clean up. But here we are, and I gotta be honest with you, I really considered just cutting that out of the video. Very easy to just edit that kind of thing out. But here's the truth. This is all about, helping you learn how to do freezer cooking. And in freezer cooking, that happens. Sometimes I have something like a container that I put the bag in and flip the top of the bag over so that it holds the bag open. And this time I didn't. And sometimes when Christy and I are doing soups together, she'll hold the bag while I add a bunch of the liquid, like at the end if I'm adding the broth or like a can of tomato sauce or something like that. And I totally knew better. I turned around and that's what happened. So that can happen in freezer cooking. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't happen to me very often. It's kind of embarrassing that it happened on camera because I really should know better. But here's what we're left with. When we eat it, we will top it with some fresh cilantro, and it's gonna be really full of flavor. And if you see how actually hearty that soup is, it turned out pretty good considering our little mishap there. Okay, so that beef curry soup, the Thai one, it's a little bit different, but really, really good. It has such rich flavors. And just a reminder, for any kind of soup, you're going to want to add like more of the seasoning that was with the soup because you're stretching it out. So whatever sauce was left on your chicken, you're gonna wanna add more of that kind of flavoring, that kind of sauce. So like when we did the pesto chicken, I could have added more pesto into that. I didn't end up doing that because I added so many other flavors and I added some Italian seasoning, but I have in the past. And in the next soup we're doing, I will be adding more lemon juice because I want that flavor to stretch out for the whole soup. So anyway, that's just a reminder. But I want to talk about things that you want to have in your pantry or freezer in order to pull off these soups made with leftovers. And what you want to be doing is looking for these items to be on sale in your grocery store, and especially looking for when they are on sale in bulk. Because if you can get a sale on chicken broth or beef broth when it's in bulk, you want to take advantage of that. You want to grab that. So you can also make your own bone broths, beef broths, chicken broths, vegetable broths, and keep those in your freezer. So come with me on a little field trip to the freezer and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so in my freezer, right up here, I have some bags. See, they're just the medium-sized bags, but I've got bags of broth. So I have vegetable broth and chicken broth going right now. And when you do like a turkey or a whole chicken or anything like that where you have leftover bones, then you can just easily make your own broth. And because you're able to like cook it all day and really have those flavors meld, you will have such a delicious and healthy broth and pennies on the dollar. So you're also going to want to have peas in your freezer, maybe some corn. Sometimes like I'll add in whatever I have in the fridge or whatever I used as a side dish. So I've used spinach in some of my soups. That's something you want to add kind of towards the end. But zucchini, carrots, potatoes, kind of whatever. So you're also like emptying your fridge a little bit, using what you have. I have herbs, so I can add in like into like a chicken taco soup kind of idea, or tortilla soup. You can put some cilantro on the top. In the soup we're gonna make next, we're going to be using dill and like some fresh dill, and you can use chives in soups, whatever, rosemary, just herbs, whatever. So if you have herbs, that's great, or just spices, keep your spice rack stocked. You also want to keep things like cans of beans, so black beans, kidney beans, white beans, mixed beans. Beans really stretch out a soup. Green beans also work really well. They would have gone well actually in that original like minestrone-esque soup. I just didn't happen to have any. But when I find something like that on sale, I grab those and stock my pantry. Lentils or split peas, maybe those are the same thing. I don't know. I'm not really an expert on that, but barley, those kind of soup things are really, really good. Like if you have some ground beef left over and you just want to make it into like a hearty hamburger soup, you can add some barley into that, and that's really good. Vegetarian soups are really, really good with lentils in them, and some of those curry soups are good with the lentils too. Tomatoes, like canned tomatoes, is another thing that you want to get. Bay leaves, of course, because bay leaves just, that's the soup thing, right? And what's the other thing? Oh, you want to do like, you can easily add cream of soups. Like if you have cream of chicken soup to like thicken your soup out, or cream of tomato, that kind of thing. Even like a cream of mushroom with some chicken in there can be good. And you can stretch out that like little can into a big family size pot, because you're using all these other ingredients to make it heartier and bigger and all of that. So I hope that helps you know what to buy to stock your pantry to make these leftover soups. Now we're gonna go and make a kind of a Greek-inspired lemon rice soup with our leftovers from a lemon garlic chicken freezer meal. There is a local Greek restaurant that makes this really delicious lemon rice soup, and I forget the name of the Greek lemon rice soup. Not like I forget. It starts with an A and I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's like I don't know. You can look it up because I've never heard it said, so I don't have any idea how to pronounce it. But that is the inspiration for this soup made with leftovers. So we had like 2 1/4 chicken thighs left. So I just put those on a plate and sliced those up. And then we had some rice left and carrots. I'd cooked some carrots for on the side. And I purposely did the carrots because I knew that this soup is better with carrots. And so then I could use the leftover cooked carrots in the soup. So we're going to add the leftover rice, the leftover carrots. We sauteed an onion in a bit of olive oil to start. And then we're just gonna simmer this. We're gonna add fresh dill, and the fresh dill is really the key. Like, that's the thing that takes this over the top, makes it taste really fresh and really summery with the lemon and the dill and all of that. So anyway, with this chicken, there wasn't a lot of sauce because it's lemon garlic chicken, so it's already got the garlic in there, which is great. But there's not a lot of extra sauce. So if you make like a lemon pepper chicken, lemon mustard chicken, lemon whatever, it makes a really nice lemon rice soup. So some of those will have more sauce for you to add, and then you'll kind of get a little bit more in terms of layers of flavor. If you are looking for other ways to save time and money in the kitchen, then be sure to hit that subscribe and like button, because I have some great ideas for you coming up. That's actually looking really good. I think I don't want to add a lot more to it other than the dill, so I'm gonna go grab the dill. That's it. Greek-inspired lemon rice soup from our leftover lemon garlic chicken, leftover rice, and carrots. That's it. It is really that simple to take your freezer meal or whatever you had for supper and take your side dishes, take your protein, whatever you've got left over, and just transform it into a soup, which can then be had for lunch or dinner the next day, or it can be frozen for future, or you can even give it to others who are going through a hard time or just had a baby, or those kind of things, because I think soups are really appreciated, not just in the winter when they're like that comfort food warm thing, but also in the summer because people can put them in their slow cooker and then it doesn't heat the house up as much. So if you have questions on this or any other things related to freezer cooking, you can pop those in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope this helped inspire you to take your little bits of leftovers and stretch them out into a whole new meal. Happy cooking!